It is Locked On Jazz for the 2nd of December. The December schedule for the Utah Jazz is fascinating, challenging, without the elite of the NBA, but a wonderful test. We'll break it down and look at what's coming in a loaded month of December. Plus, Donovan continues to evolve, and Hasaan has the bad job of being Rudy Gobert's backup. How's he doing with it? We'll look at it all coming up on today's edition of Locked On Jazz. Pow.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. You can subscribe on YouTube, hit the bell as well to be notified whenever we drop an episode. You can also follow for free on all of the podcast platforms. Thanks very much for tuning in. For those of you who listen on Spotify, and we are part of your Spotify Wrapped for 2021, thank you very much. Those are great to see, really flattering, and I super appreciate it. Please feel free to send them to me. We'll retweet and get you a little pub out there. So thanks very much for that. So last night I was digging through, kind of prepping, doing all that kind of stuff. And looking at the month of December, it's really, really fascinating. So let's walk through it quickly. And then I kind of then got into it last night, into like kind of what each individual challenge is for us. And we don't play, when we look at the betonline.ag odds, there seem to be 3 title contenders in the East: Milwaukee, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Miami. They're so injured right now, it's probably not the case. And then you look over in the West, and there's 2 other title contenders. They're Phoenix and Golden State. So we don't play them. We do Phoenix, Golden State back-to-back in January. And we do I think we have like a brutal like Denver, Dallas back. Like we play the best teams there back to back. But we only play 1 game in the month of December against a team that's not really good. We play the San Antonio Spurs on December 17th. And then other than that, like just here's the rundown. Boston 12-10, Cleveland 12-10, Minnesota 11-11 but playing great. Philadelphia 11-11, but without Embiid, they were 0-5, I think. Washington 14-8. Then we come home to face the Clippers, who are 11-11. Then we play the bad Spurs. Then we play Charlotte, who's 13-11. Then we play Minnesota, who's 11-11 again, and we know they give us problems. Then Christmas Day, we have Dallas, who's 11-9 and 4th. Then we pause against the Spurs again, but it's at San Antonio, before wrapping up with Portland, who's 11-11, and Minnesota, who's 11-11. Really a bunch of great games. And then we have Golden State. We have a Denver Lakers back-to-back is the one I was thinking about in January. And then the next weekend we have Warriors Phoenix back-to-back with Phoenix right afterwards. We have another one of these stretches, by the way, starting January 23rd to February 9th, right before All-Star break. We have a whole stretch where every team we play is good. There's 2 things here. One is this is the new NBA. This is where kind of everyone used to talk about how many bad teams there are. There really aren't. There's maybe 4 or 5 bad teams in the league right now. And otherwise, everyone's super good and they're all beating up on each other. And the margin between these teams is minimal. And so this is what you get. When you look down these games, we're probably favored in all of them. other than I would guess we're not favored at Philadelphia if Embiid plays. Otherwise, but favored means that you have a 60% chance of winning against Cleveland. Means you probably have a 70% chance of winning against Boston. Well, you don't, ask Hillary Clinton. You can have the odds your direction and you still don't win. 538 is where I'm getting these numbers, so that's probably the appropriate reference. We'll probably in Minnesota have a 50-50, 55. I mean, it'll probably be a 1 or 2 point game. So we're going to lose a bunch of these games. Every time we're going to think it's catastrophic. What's fascinating about it is how different these teams are. So if we walk through this run, and I'm going to do that today, just to kind of prepare the month, start our conversation where it is. So we start with Boston, and you start looking at the challenges of each team. And if you're like I was last night at, late at night, getting in a little bit of a negative mood, you can really these are pretty daunting. So Boston comes in, first of all, they have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Tatum's been particularly inefficient this year, but that's 2 wing scorers and we have 1 wing defender. Like that's always been a bugaboo for us, right? We have Royce O'Neal. We don't really have another wing defender. We've got Rudy, and they're going to have 2 major wing scorers. But Boston's interesting. Boston's going to be a challenge for us because of what they are defensively. They're the 4th best defensive team in the league, 3rd best defensive rebounding team in the league. They don't force a huge amount of turnovers, but they're crazy long. They switch a ton. They make it difficult for you to play. They have a new coach, but it's still the same personnel in a lot of ways. And so therefore there's not so much that you're going to be able to change. And so when you look at what they do and how they defend, they're difficult against the pick and roll game. They're one of the better defensive teams in the league at times because they're willing to switch. Now they'll fly around with a bunch of different things. And I feel like they've been struggling a little bit on how to defend and what they want to do with Al Horford in there and Robert Williams, but they switch picks the second most of any team in the NBA. So here we are. What are our challenges for this season? Teams that stretch us out, right? That move Rudy out of the middle, and teams that on a defensive end. And so how do we get back to it? And we seem to be doing a great job because Rudy's suddenly challenging 3 or 4 more shots a game than he was earlier this year. And so that's challenge number 1. Trust me, it's coming. Challenge number 2 for us at the most part is anybody who switches 1 through 5 and makes us play the one-on-one game. And are we able to keep the ball moving? And then challenge number 3, I think, is when teams just crash the glass on us as an undersized team. And then probably challenge number 4 for us are teams that play the most amount of possessions in transition. That would be kind of the final one that I look at. Because when teams get out and run and we can't keep them in the half court, that's what Washington did to us last year with Russell. It's really a problem. Those teams that play the most transition possessions this year are Cleveland, who we play in this stretch, 3rd most in the NBA. Minnesota, who we play in this stretch, 5th most in the NBA. Charlotte, 10th most in the NBA. There it is. There's 3 of those challenges. We look at the teams that switch the most defensively. Boston, the 2nd most switch. Miami's number 1. We've already played them. We struggled in that. Charlotte switches the 4th most of anyone in the NBA. And then Portland, we torched the other day. They didn't switch against us, which I don't really know why. LA and Washington are above average switching teams, and we play them. So we'll walk through this a little bit more kind of detailed, a little bit team by team here. But just from the big picture, here's a month of December where every game but 2, the 2 against the Spurs, are against the team I would say is above average. We're supposed to be elite. So every night we go into this challenge, it'll be we're going to think to ourselves, we should win. Our chance to win is like 60%, means we lose 4 out of 10, even if we should win. But every one of these is going to tax us in some way toward the goal of being better at the 70th game of the season or the 80th game or for the playoffs. It's a pretty fascinating stretch and a really interesting month of December that I do, hey, if we suddenly go 4-10 in the month of December, it's eye-opening. We're not an elite team. We're in this group of teams, right? I don't think we'd go 4-10, but right. And even if we go 6-6, I've now had us played 14 and 12 games. I have to look at what the amount of games is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think it's about 13, 14. It's a lot of games. If we go 500, then I think that tells you that we're actually in that group. If we go 10 and 5, 10 and 4, something of that nature, it tells us we are in the elite group. And if we suddenly go below 500, that's pretty concerning with a trade deadline looming and us in the luxury tax. It's a pretty fascinating stretch of basketball. I'll dig into each of them specifically here in a second. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Scaling your business is the journey of endless possibilities. So now start at shopify.com/lockedonnba. Are you aware of Shopify? It's a pretty interesting company. What they have done is they basically have created the commerce platform that lets you start, grow, and manage a business. Cha-ching! It's another deal going across Shopify. The subscription-based software allows anyone to set up an online store, sell their products. Shopify store owners can also sell in physical locations using Shopify POS, point-of-sale app, accompanying hardware. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big business. Pretty cool. So upstarts, startups, established businesses all can sell, synchronize online, in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Go to shopify.com/lockedonnba, all lowercase, for a 14-day trial to get access to all of Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Shopify.com/lockedonnba, shopify.com/lockedonnba. These are the things, frankly, that make it impossible to start a business, and now we have the technology to let you do it. It's pretty cool. More than a store. Connect with your customers, drive sales, manage them day to day. It's Shopify. I don't know if they really wanted that little thing. Truebill. I mentioned Truebill a few times. It's a pretty interesting company. I've downloaded it onto my phone. I'm finding it's nice to know, big expenditures come through. They warn me to keep an eye on various spendings. They categorize your spending. But what they really do is helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. On average, people save $720 a year with Truebill. Because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, Truebill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts and Truebill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. And your Truebill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions so you don't have to. It's pretty interesting. Over 2 million users, including myself, I've helped them save over 100 million. I haven't saved 100 million. Don't fall for those subscription scans. Start canceling today at truebill.com/lockedonnba. Go right now, truebill.com/lockedonnba. It could save you thousands a year. Truebill.com/lockedonnba. All right, let's walk through this sequence of games a little bit more. I think it just sets the table and gives us a good perspective on what's going to be a really fun month. I also want to see if there's things in the chat room to jump aboard today as well. Good morning to Tyler and Ryan and Ray. Good morning to Jace as well. Adam asked me if I look into 538's Raptor ratings. I don't, Adam, a great deal. It's not in my regular routine. Should I? And what are you seeing there? Let me know. And I will take a minute tonight and look at them a little bit more. Good morning as well to Andrew and Bryce and to Pray Love and to Garrett and Jared, all for stopping by. And again, thanks so much for making Locked on Jazz your first listen of the day. So Boston's super interesting. As I mentioned already, we don't need to dig into them anymore. They're not a very good offensive team. They're 21st in the league offensively. They're 25th in the league in shooting. They go to the line a lot, which we traditionally don't do. So this is a game where we actually have to show our prowess defensively, that we're the elite level defensive team. Too hard for them to score. Tatum gets inefficient. Brown doesn't get to the rim. They don't get to the rim at all as a team. This was a problem for them under Brad Stevens. It's the same lineup, same players, still a major problem for them. So Rudy, patrols it. We make them take low percentage shots. We win the math game on them. It's pretty, that's an interesting matchup. We'll dig into it more tomorrow. But how do we win that? And this is my point. As you watch me walk through this in December, this is what was so fascinating last night. How do we win these different games? They're all going to be a little different. And then on the offensive side, we talked about that's a very, very heavy switching team. Okay, then we get Cleveland. Cleveland is a very, very another elite level defensive team. We go from the 4th best defense in the league to the 5th best, and they're arguably I mean, Golden State's the best defense in the league right now, and Phoenix is the second best. But Cleveland and Golden State are different in the sense they're top 10 in all four factors. Actually, Cleveland's not anymore in rebounding, but they're just really, really good and crazy long. They play 3 7-footers. And so it's going to be a huge challenge for us to be able to move the ball, keep it spinning, bouncing around against these guys. The interesting one on them is despite that, they deny threes with their length, but they don't deny the rim. So we'll have to get to the rim. They allow 35% of the shots at the rim, which is a surprisingly high number for them. And they defend the three beautifully. So we're going to have to invert our game a little bit against Cleveland. And then the other side of what we talked about a moment ago is they don't switch with their guys. So it's a different style of defense that we'll have to face, but they're big and they're long. And then they get out and run a great deal. So they're a very, very heavy transition team on an offensive side. So that's the challenge for us against Cleveland is that here's this team, crazy long defensively, going to tax us with the fact that they're just really good defensively. We're not long. And then they get out and run. They're in transition at least 15% of the time, which is really, really good. But they're not a great offensive team. They're not a good pick and roll team. They're not a great isolation team, particularly with Colin Sexton out. So again, can we have just elite level focused defensive prowess? We go to Minnesota. Oh dear God. Like all of us know Minnesota's a disaster. So where do they tax us? They tax us. One, they're out in transition a ton, which is, as you know, our three bugaboos, right? One is switching defenses. 2 is spreading Rudy out. 3 is transition. 4 is pounding the glass on us. Luckily, Cleveland is in Boston are not pound the glass teams. If they pound the glass on us, that's something we didn't expect. Minnesota, on the other hand, is a pound the glass team. 30% of their offensive rebounds they get. They're a transition team. I think I said 3 or 4 in the league in transition. And they spread the floor with us and take Rudy Gobert out of the middle. They're really, as we saw last year, is not a worse matchup. They at least don't switch defensively. And the crazy thing about Minnesota is they're now suddenly playing well defensively. They're now a 7th best defensive team. So in our next 3 games, we suddenly see Cleveland, Boston, who's the 4th best defense. Cleveland, who's the 5th best. Minnesota, who's the 7th best. Philadelphia, who's 15th, except for the fact that they're way better than that when Embiid plays. And then we play Washington, who is the 11th best. So every team we play in their next 5 games before we come home. And then we play the Clippers, who are the 3rd best defensive team. I mean, this is a fascinating, fascinating stretch of basketball for us. Then we play San Antonio, who's not particularly good defensively, but they're still, I think they're above average. And then we have Washington, Charlotte, Minnesota. So the next time we play a team that is not a top 10 or top 15 defensive team will be when we play Charlotte, who's the 24th ranked defensive team in the league. And then when we play Dallas, who's the 23rd on Christmas. But that's it. Otherwise, we're playing 3rd best defense Clippers, 4th best defense Boston, 5th best defense Cleveland, 7th best defense in Minnesota twice. Washington's the 11th best defense, and then San Antonio's 14th, play them twice. Philadelphia's 15th. We're going to find out if we're really, right now, offensively, we're the greatest offensive team this league has seen in a long time. We're 3 points better than anyone else in the league. We're 8 points above league average, maybe even 9. There hasn't been a team that's done that since the Warriors. Okay, well, we're about to find out. Like, if we have a good defensive month, like, wow. But we're going to be challenged. Really, really challenged. So we walk through these things. Boston, Cleveland, Minnesota all have their own challenges. Washington is pretty interesting. They're, again, only 20th offensively. Minnesota, by the way, is just really good. If you're wondering, Minnesota's offense is 19th offensively, largely based on offensive rebounding. But again, the other side of this, by the way, is if we're really, want to flip it around, we're playing the Clippers, who are 25th offensively, the Spurs, who are 24th twice, Cleveland, who's 22nd, Boston, who's 21st, Washington, who's 20th, Minnesota, who's 19th. Dallas is only 16th on Christmas. Of the top offensive teams in the league, we see Charlotte in this month, but we don't see another, and I think Philadelphia again. We don't see another top 15 offensive team other than Philadelphia and Charlotte in this month. So this is a month where our defense can really have a huge statement on what we are and still win games. And the offense on the other side is really going to have to really step up and see if it is elite. I mean, maybe I'm geeking out, but just really fascinating like on the night-to-night challenge that we have coming up here. Washington's interesting because they're the number one team in the league in defending the shot. They're the last team in the league at forcing turnovers. They play Daniel Gafford the way we play Rudy Gobert. It's exactly what they do. They do not switch a tremendous amount defensively. They are 12th in the league in switching. So they just protect the rim. And they've been this way. Dean Oliver's on their staff, who's an analytics guy. This is clearly what Tommy Shepard, their GM, believes. They've been this way for a few years, and they play exactly in that style. And then they're just relatively deep. They're actually kind of playing. There's a kind of, if you do everybody above average, you probably can win 50 games. They're a bad transition offensive team. So again, they shouldn't really, but defensively, they're really, really good. So that's going to be like, there's the challenge. It fits the model of the month. The month is about, can our defense be dominating against the non-elite of the league, and can our offense survive against the elite defensive teams in the league? It's an incredible month. Washington's the third best pick and roll ball handler defense in the NBA. That's how we score. That's what we want to do. And they're really, really good at it. So that should be incredible. Then we come back. We know the Clippers well. We know exactly what they're going to do to us. And then you have the Hornets and the Timberwolves. So I think it's an amazing month. All right, I'll get to some of your questions as well. And then also just touch on Donovan. Andy Larsen wrote a neat piece about it. Touch on Hasaan Whiteside, a little bit update on that as we continue on the shows today. Hasaan Whiteside's defense, some trending things that aren't terrific there. As good as he's been for us, there are some trending things we should keep an eye on as we, head into the same stretch. Then we'll look at it. All right. Today's show is brought to you by Grip 6. Really, there's not a better holiday gift than Grip 6. Whether it's the wallet's really cool also, but the belt pack is awesome. And they actually have a new candy cane forest one I saw the other day that was super cool. I think it's still up there. They have a new Mission Oak belt I thought was really wild. It's wood and it's got holes in it. Looks super. Go check it all out. I need to make them make lockdown belts at some point here. The Craftsman pack is available for you. I think I've told you before. I have a ton of these. I really, really, really like them. And I think they, have whatever fits your personality. The very classics they have for you. There's a bunch of flag ones if you want to wear it with pride, the American flag. If you're Canadian, want to wear the Canadian flag. The Conservation Series has the honeycomb belt. That's probably the one I wear the most. And like the Craftsman belt's super cool. I wear that whenever I got khakis or brown on. And then there's just the really, what I think is kind of the high-end carbon ones, which that's my suit belt when I wear the suit. It's all at Grip 6. If you don't know about Grip 6, it's a Utah company. They are American-made. They're Utah-made. And what's really, really cool about Grip 6 is there's no hole, there's no flaps, there's no leftover bulk. It all fits perfectly. Unlimited lifetime warranty. It's the best belt you'll ever wear. And the buckles and the straps are interchangeable. So it's pretty great. In other words, if you buy 3 belts and you buy 3 straps, you suddenly have 9 buckles or 9 belts. Pretty great. Grip6.com, promo code LOCKEDON gets you 15% off. Cowboys and Saints tonight. BetOnline.ag has the Cowboys as a 5.5-point favorite. NBA has been kind of quiet on Thursdays, not trying to compete with the NFL, but some good ones tonight. Chicago's a 2-point favorite over the Knicks. Milwaukee's a 4.5-point favorite over Toronto, who's so injured it's hard to tell what they are. And then Phoenix is a 12.5-point favorite going for their franchise record win streak against Detroit. That's all at betonline.ag. Use the promo code LOCKEDON. Get a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline.ag's got everything you need. You can do live betting. You can do casino games. You can do racebook. You can do it all. It's all there for you. BetOnline.ag. So go jump aboard. You can even do tennis. I didn't know these things were going on right now with tennis. I kind of like tennis. Tennis is like the best thing this side of boxing for mano-a-mano sports. Go check it all out, betonline.ag. All right, let me get to this good conversation going on about Rudy Gobert. I want to see if Adam had asked me about 538, and I was hoping in the chat room he's responded, but he has not. Jake has got a long thing. Bridges is what we here. We'll read Jake's long thing. Bridges is what we need to make Rudy look like Ayton on defense. Problem is that in the pick and roll, we don't have a guy who can guard the post perimeter the way he does. I mean, Mikal Bridges is frankly now a contestant for Defensive Player of the Year with that performance on Steph Curry. So if we're talking about Mikal Bridges, I think that's a case in which, it'd be great to have Mikal Bridges. We'd have two of the 5 best defensive players in the league on our team, and he can shoot. There aren't many guys like him. Like, Mo Harkless thought was a really good defender. He couldn't shoot. Al-Farouq Aminu thought was a really good defender. Couldn't shoot. Like, if you go through it, it's really, really hard to find the wing defender of the level of Mikal Bridges who can also shoot. I mean, those guys generally become all-stars. Rudy Gay has to be the guy for us in the playoffs. When Rudy tries to close the gap on the perimeter, it ends in a blow by or layup or lob dunk on us. I don't actually think that's true at all. What is true is that teams have found a way, or teams are trying on a nightly basis, all the coaches now talk about it when they come into town, of moving Rudy Gobert out of the middle. Like, at some point you have to take this as a compliment, right? Like, this is, okay, we've stopped trying. It's ridiculous. You're so dang good. There's nothing we can do about this. So we're going to stop trying to shoot over you, play through you. You're too dang good. And I think that's the truth. Here's what's really, really interesting. And let's look at this together. And I've kind of alluded to it. What the Jazz are trying to do right now is they are trying in every way, shape, or form to keep Rudy near the middle. You saw it against New Orleans. He would guard Brandon Ingram. And then when they threw it into the post of Valanciunas, he would head back down to the post and deal with that. Like, they're doing amazing stuff with him to move him around. Where this is becoming most obvious right now is the amount of shots that Rudy's affecting. So what's begun to happen is that overall, if we take the last 5 games, and the Jazz this is where we're just getting better and better every game. So Rudy Gobert in the last 5 games is defending 21 shots a game. Teams are shooting 33% against him. It's an insane number. If we open up the year, start on opening night of October 20th and go to our, we're doing this together live because I'm trying to back up Jacob's point. And we go to like November 10th, which I think would take us about 5 to 8 games out. So it's arbitrary. And you look at that in that time period. Why did it tell me there are no dates available for that? Oh, because I had last 5 games in. Okay, sorry. Filter problems. Rudy Gobert was defending 17 shots a game. Still at a brilliant number at 40%. So in the last 5 games, the adjustments, the work of the coaching staff, first 11 games of the year, Rudy impacts 17.6 shots a game. In the last 5 games of the year, Rudy's now affecting 21. If we start to look at this even by around now, is Rudy affecting shots at the rim? Rudy Gobert to open the year, or for the year right now, is at 8.2. In the last 5 games, Rudy Gobert is impacting at 8.6. So a half a shot more a game at the rim, but it's also then a shot more a game at the rim, 15 to 18%, a lot. It sounds like little. It's only 1. When you're only dealing with 8 and you go from 7.5 to 8.5, that's a full shot a game. Excuse me, that's about 15, 20%. And he's incredible. They're 20%. Teams in the last 5 games are shooting 20% less well against him than they did. If we, put those same parameters around this as we did a moment ago and look at those dates of October 20th to November 10th, first 11 games of the year, you're going to see that 1 game difference, that 1 shot difference. That 1 shot's still worth a point. It's 8. And so we're seeing that evolution of the Jazz being able to keep Rudy closer to the basket and make those changes. I wanted to talk about Donovan and his evolution. We'll do it tomorrow. But I do want to talk about Hasaan Whiteside. This was kind of a big thing for us this year. Can we? I talked about the whole time. Rudy Gay is our postseason acquisition. Hasaan Whiteside is our regular season acquisition. And if Hasaan Whiteside can be good, and this is a huge stretch for him to be good because we have to be dominant defensively. So the first thing is really some great signs. We're plus 11 when he's on the floor in the 90th percentile. Our offense is amazing. It's in the 95th percentile, largely driven by 32% offensive rebounding. Our defense is in the 60th percentile, which is terrific because it was in the 20th percentile when Rudy was off the floor a year ago. The only thing that's trending in a disturbing way is the lineup that has Donovan Mitchell, Royce O'Neal, Bojan Bogdanovic, Joe Ingles, and Hasaan Whiteside. So this is our first substitution. Joe and Hasaan comes in the game. Is in the 7th percentile defensively, playing starters, and is in the 0 percentile, 0 as in no-show, in defensive rebounding. They're allowing 38% of their opponents to get defensive rebound. The second most used lineup, which is Donovan, Clarkson, Royce, Bojan, and Hassan, which is now our next substitution, which is when Jordan Clarkson comes in. Actually, that's a third quarter lineup. We don't use it a ton. It's plus 13. It's great. It's bad defensively. We're beginning to see the lineups where Hassan plays the most begin to be less good defensively. It's just worth keeping an eye. It's a little bit of a disturbing trend. It's and not really because of Hassan, more because we saw it last year, right? Because last year we know that those defenses were not very good. And so that's a part of it. So that's it. Adam says Raptor is the rating used. Uses play-by-play and tracking data. Josh Lloyd talks about it. Locked on Fantasy Basketball. Seems worth skinny over. So it's the 538 number. It's the version of Pelton's Shoney, which I do look at all the time. Real adjusted plus minus, I think, is probably the best number of all of this. Seth Partnell's book is really good, Adam. If you're interested in this stuff, I'd go get Mid-Range Theory. I'm reading it right now. It's been good. I've enjoyed it. All right, that is Locked on Jazz today. I'll be back with you tomorrow. We'll talk about Donovan's evolution, kind of the screen watching. Good article by Andy Larsen, so go grab that, and we'll get you ready more detailed for Boston. I'm going to watch their game against Philadelphia today, and I head to practice, so I'll have more for you. It is Locked on Jazz. Have a great one, and Points Gained Friday. Woo-hoo! Nothing as exciting as numbers.